the number of drivers, especially GLTC, that have come out to run at this inaugural event.
Yeah, yeah. Over the lunch break, we actually took the chance to break away and go check out the museum itself.
So I've been here 3 or 4 times, and I've never actually been to the museum. I probably should go.
It was, I mean, it's like a quick 30-minute thing for someone who doesn't like really love Corvettes.
Okay.
But it's certainly interesting. They have a whole hall in there dedicated to mid-engine Corvette prototypes.
Neat.
They have clearly been thinking about this for a lot longer than I had realized. There's like 8 of them, probably.
Really?
6 or 8 of them in there. From like the 60s all the way through. There's one from the 80s that looks like a Jaguar XJ220. An incredible car. Should have totally built it.
Do you, any Corvette nerds listening to the stream right now, do you think that that's an exhibit that they put out after they released the CA?
I can only imagine that that's the case.
Because they had all these things, and we're like, well, we've been thinking about this, but we didn't do it yet.
They've been talking, like that's always been the rumor, though, right? Every time they start talking about a new gen, oh, it's going to be the mid-engine one. And this time it just finally was.
So cars rolling around here. Time Attack Group C. I believe there's Civic Type R in this session, which...
I think that there is Matt Williams, if I'm not mistaken. He's finally out here in his FC this weekend. He has his Fit here as well, but I know he was hoping for this to be the debut event for his FC in Club TR.
Yeah, it's exciting to see him out on track in that car. I think he brought both cars, actually.
He does have both cars, and he's been running a few laps, a few sessions in the Fit.
So Matt Williams in his Sundae Cup spec Fit, he's been running and was kind of like the person who jumped headfirst into the Sundae Cup.
Certainly was the guy.
And it's exciting. That car is an absolute blast to drive. And I know it's weird saying that about a car that makes 100 horsepower, but it's a really different experience than driving something that's actually fast. Because if you're driving something that slow, 2 things. You enter a corner not thinking about how much you have to slow down, but rather, how fast can you possibly go through this corner? Can I go through without touching the brakes at all? And then the second thing is, if you start to lose it, you just like touch the brakes and then the car's
It's always been impressive to me that he will throw the keys to literally anybody that he knows, and you can just go out and do a session, and the car always takes it, and it always comes back, and it always begs for more.
Yeah, I had the chance. I've driven that car at Gingerman. I drove it at Summit Point, Shenandoah. I've driven it at Mid-Ohio. Usually, if he's looking for a way to like give me a smile, almost always he'll be like, hey, go for a drive.
Sometimes Abe gets a little stressed out at events. Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, it is like running a competition that is legitimate and it's fair to everyone, and it's a place where people have a fun time. Yeah, that's it. It takes a lot of work to make sure all those things happen. And thank you to all the behind the scenes crew that make all of this stuff possible.
Absolutely. So they're on screen, the Festiva, Gridlife regular, one of my favorites. Actually wearing this shirt for their team. They were building an unlimited Festiva for a while, and it burned to the ground in the workshop.
Oh no!
By accident. Something had like arced the battery or something along those lines. So
can I say that
I felt like the least I could do was buy a T-shirt and.
Can I say that that's tragically hilarious?
Yeah, it's a real bum deal. It's the worst. You know, they were days away from its debut, and that's been a while now. But yeah, he comes to every event, it seems, every Gridlife event, and just whips that thing around. So it's great.
Not a car that you see often on track, and I'm sure it's a challenge to get parts and support for something that old and that.
So apparently it's some sort of Mazda in Japan.
Okay.
Which I think helps it a little bit.
I'm sure, maybe a little.
One of those kind of cars, you know, badge engineered sort of things. So.
Let's see, Lisa Key's out on track here. I'm not sure what she's driving this weekend. I think they have a few cars that they like to drive.
Yeah. Starting to get some times in here now.
Actually, be Hulka's car.
That's 700 on the screen there, so I think that's a different car.
Okay.
But it would be awesome if that is, you know, if his dad's moved to Time Attack.
I think that's right. And so those two would basically double duty every Gridlife weekend.
Yeah.
And his dad's a pretty good wrench and would work on the car pretty much for the duration that it was off track.
I grew up drag racing as kind of a family thing, you know.
Which is a respectable time, but room to grow because Jimmy Diggs is fast.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do, man?
I mean, driver's got to drive.
Yeah, and that kid could wheel.
He ran a 38.0 on a 200 treadwear tire in his S2000.
Right.
And we were like, that's it. Was that a
255?
Yes.
Okay.
And the lap probably is one of the more beautiful laps that you will see in any car. There will laps that'll be faster, but that lap is almost perfect, and if you haven't seen it, you should definitely find it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So
had the white Supra, someone
Yep.
That's part of their crew.
I don't know that that's here this weekend. But
so we see a number of drivers out. I don't know if anyone's improved. Drew Turner just came across the line with a 2:21.7. Fantastic time.
Yeah.
Looks like the adoption of Club TR is strong for this first event, and I think we're going to see a lot more. This class is really accessible, and it's not classic over-the-top time attack that you're used to seeing, but I still think it's going to be challenging to put together a winning car.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that people dive into, no matter what class you build, it's if people really embrace it and they really dive into it, it's not easy to build a top-tier car. That's all there is to it. It doesn't matter what form of racing it is. Time attack, wheel-to-wheel, lawnmower racing. It doesn't matter.
We should get more into lawnmower racing. Is that an Iowa thing?
It is an Iowa thing, actually. There's a track not that far away from me, and they were looking for an announcer. And I thought about it, but it was a serious commitment. Because they wanted me,
you're saying the lawnmower racing was a serious
No, like, they want me at least one, if not 2 nights a week for, like, 12 weeks in a row or something.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a serious thing there. So.
That sounds very intense.
Apparently it is. I need to go and watch it once just because it's hilarious, but I haven't made it yet.
So it looks like Drew might be on a cooldown here, just kind of rolling his way through. Not too many drivers on fast ones this late into the session.
Time Attack C tends to be more a lot of those people who are able to put together whole sessions without having to do too many cooldowns and then flyers and then cooldowns and then flyers. So
one of our very iconic Gridlife photographers, that's Rob Wilkinson in the shot here.
Absolutely.
Bringing the heat on the photographs.
One of the most iconic for sure. So always look forward to seeing the stuff that he puts out.
And Tori Skursky is driving his daily driven BMW 135, which I think he's time attacked for a few years now because he's been trying to put together his time attack Nissan Juke.
I was going to say, is he not the Juke owner?
He is the Juke owner, but he's been driving the BMW for a number of years.
Well, I missed the Juke. I can say that because the Juke was fantastic. I really liked the Juke.
Well, you have a propensity for odd cars.
I have for terrible cars. Just say it. That's what it is. It's fine. I liked the Juke. The biggest problem for me with the Juke was that you could get it as a manual or a turbo and all-wheel drive, but not all three. You could pick 2. That was one of those deals, and it was really frustrating.
Dilemma.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. And then they put out the Nismo, which has the terrible Nissan CVT that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So.
Well, that's unfortunate. So, let's see. Who else has improved on this session? Matt Williams in Club TR 225.6. It's exciting to have that car out for its inaugural event, but a little bit off pace for the Club TR.
So, That's an interesting car for Club TR.
I think he just likes rotaries.
Well, he does. He's got a long history in rotaries. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know if it's the car I would choose.
Well, I think that's the interesting challenge, or maybe the opportunity of running a Gridlife TrackBattle, right? So you have the option to either start with a blank slate and build the car that you think will have the best chance to win,
Right.
or you can build the car you want to drive and just try and drive it fast.
Right.
And I think in Matt Williams' case, he has a winning spec fit, and he just wants to drive his road.
I get that. So, can they be turboed in Club TR?
I think
His is not.
I think they cannot.
Okay. I remember there being some discussion.
So, like
the
the two-rotor turbo FDs are not Club TR legal.
Okay.
But I think FCs are. And I believe it was because we expected the performance potential of the FD to be too high for the
The FC and the FD have different turbo setups on them. Because the FD is a twin turbo vehicle, whereas the FC is a single turbo.
I see. Yeah, maybe that's the difference.
So, I don't know. Yeah. For a very short period of time, I owned an FC turbo. It never ran as most rotaries do.
Well, and as most of the cars in your driveway
Most of the cars I own do as well too. Yes, thanks for pointing that out again.
I'm not going to let you forget.
You're not wrong.
So we're winding down here on the session, 13 and a half minutes in. Joseph King's still out there banging laps in that Fiesta.
Yeah, as he should be. As he should be.
I think those have to be. They can't be more than 12-inch wheels.
I don't know. So I have a car that runs similar wheel and tire packages to that, and I love my 13s. I think they look the business. They're hilarious. They're super light.
I imagine
in a world where unsprung weight is really important, a tiny little rim like that is great.
Well, I think
spin out.
We see a little bit of that with Eric Thiel's EG in GLTC. I think he runs 15s, which is on the smaller side compared to what a lot of people run.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I just assumed there were 17s on that car because that's kind of the tire size that everyone's gravitated to.
Well, I imagine though that as the wheels get smaller, the tires get smaller, of course, but
tires get cheaper too.
Cheaper is a big deal.
It's very important when you're running Hoosiers. So.
So a few cars rolling around here, still out on track. Almost 15 minutes in. I expect the checker here soon. Fast times from the session are Drew Turner with a 2:21.7, Mary Valdez in the Type R 2:22.7, Andrew Sonneville, who I believe has a track mod Miata in 2:25.4, Matt Williams 2:25.6. Ethan Bailey, 2:26.4. Lisa Keys, 2:30.3. Ian Menger, 2:30.4. Neruchetti, 2:30.8. Daniel Chun, 2:30.9. And Dalton Klein, 2:32.0, rounding out the top 10.
That Camaro that Dalton Klein's in, I don't know why.
Your time attack.
Yeah.
There is this temptation to, you want your car to have this much horsepower, and you need to have this many mods, and it needs to be this fast before you can come out and do a track day. And I think it's really important to know that slow cars are better track day cars because they allow you to be on track more minutes. The really, really high horsepower cars, especially if they're modified, tend to get in the way of being on track a lot.
Well, and the other thing is that the pointy end of these classes, almost across the board, is that those drivers, they didn't start this year.
It's true.
You know what I mean? And even putting laps in a slower car is making you a better driver.
Absolutely true.
And that's been proven time and time again to be just as, if not more important than the car you're driving.
Well, we take a driver like Andy Smedegaard, who is kind of famous in Gridlife circle with his, they call it the A chassis Evo 9 that they have. He would rarely bring that
out.
Checker now. He would rarely bring that car out on track only for competition. but he would always have his S2000, which he called Trainer,
Right.
out to do laps. And he would say that driving the S2 made him a faster driver in the Evo.